A literature review is very essential to develop a powerful research idea. Literature review help us to identify the research gap and consolidate that what has been done and what we have do. In this video, I will discuss in literature that how we plan the literature review, how we conduct the literature review, and how we organize the literature review, and especially how to write and how to represent the literature review. Here, uh, in this screen, here is my PhD dissertation thesis, literature review chapter. I will discuss that how we can write the dissertation literature review chapter. Along with this chapter, I will discuss that how we can convert our literature review chapter to a good research survey paper. I have written to three research survey paper, and all of these are published in a good research journal. And I hope so that after watching this video, you will be able to first thing that you will be able to write a good literature review, and secondly that you will be able to convert the literature review chapter to a good research survey paper. So let's start that how we can start the literature review. So if you are writing if you are writing the literature review chapter, then the first you have to do is you write the introduction of the literature. You can see that this is the overview of the literature. We write the overview of the literature so that we connect the reader with our literature review, that what we are going to do in this chapter or what we have done in this chapter. The second thing is methodology used for the literature. So what the methodology means for the literature, what type of methodology? Here the methodology means that how we are going to conduct the literature, how we planned it, what we have to include in our literature, and what we have to exclude from the literature, what type of paper, the gap size means that the period. For example, in this chapter, in this dissertation, I have collected the literature from 2012 to 2020. So there are a lot of other research paper which we included all these in the methodology to wide to make the to make the research literature easy. So here, what are the methodology used for the literature? Here we completely define, for example, that to get a more comprehensive view of the cloud computing, we explored the literature from 2012 to 2020. uh, you have to identify the gap. This gap is not so simple that you have proved that why you are going to select this period from 2012 to 2020. Okay, and as I have completed the literature review, I have published the paper, and I have defended my literature, defended my PhD dissertation. So the total paper I have collected were 200, and in these 200 paper, 70 paper were finally selected and 170 were rejected. And how, but the question is how these 70 papers were selected and how the 130 papers were rejected. So all these things were done in the planning, because we planned all these things, that what we are going to include and what we are going to exclude. So in the planning of the review, the importance and necessity of the study that distinguish it from other related studies. So how we are going to distinguish that our related studies, we will discuss that what are the population, what are the main topic in which we are going to do the research, what are our expected outcomes for which we are going to do the work, and for these expected outcomes, what will be methodology, what are the techniques which we are using to get these outcomes. And secondly, development of the research protocol for the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Definitely we will define the inclusion and exclusion criteria to search the literature. Once we plan, once we have defined the inclusion and exclusion criteria, once we have defined the detailed protocol, after that we start the conducting of the review. And this review is conducted according to the phase 1 protocol. Here are three important things which I have already highlighted here. The one is the population, the second is the methodology, and the third is the outcome. These are very important things before starting your literature. So what is population? Population is actually your main topic in which you are going to work. Okay, for example, I'm going to work in the cloud computing, then cloud computing is my main topic. And this is the first thing. Okay, and herely the second thing is the outcome. Outcome means what you are going to achieve, what will be your final result. For example, in my this dissertation, I want to maximize the provider revenue. Okay, so maximizing the provider revenue is my outcome. The third one is that what are the methodology which I will use to maximize the provider revenue in the cloud computing. Then in my case, for example, this is the resources scalability. Okay, so when you are going to conduct your research, when you are going to conduct your literature, you have to know, you have to discuss with your supervisor, you have to discuss with the expert that what is your main topic, what is your population. Okay, what is your outcome for which you are working, and what are your methodology. Once you have finalized all these things, that what are your population, what is your methodology, and what are your outcomes, you have to collect keywords for that. For example, in my case, here population is the cloud computing. Then with the cloud computing, I will uh, search the synonym for the cloud computing, because nowadays cloud computing is also called mobile computing. Okay, it is also called the fog computing, etc, etc. Similarly, I will revenue maximization is my outcome. Then in the synonyms, there are any other words which are used for the revenue maximization, for example, revenue optimization, etc. In short, you have to find out your keywords, and all these keywords will be from the population, from the methodology, and from the outcomes. Once you have finalized your population, methodology, and outcome, as you can see in this table, that in my case the population is the cloud computing, and in the synonyms I have also given the mobile computing, and in the methodology is actually the techniques which we are using, and this in the synonyms are, in my case, are the resources, prices, SLA, and penalties. These are different type of techniques which we can use to maximize the provider revenue. And revenue maximization, actually my outcome, I want to maximize the provider revenue. So we can also say that profit maximization, or we can say optimizing the provider revenue. Once you have finalized your keywords, then what you have to do, you have to create a search string, research string, and for these research string you have to concatenate all these uh, with the AND operator. And if there are synonym, for example, I am using the cloud computing and also the mobile computing, these are the synonyms, then I will concatenate these with the OR words. And other keywords which are from the population, methodology, and outcome, these are concatenated with AND operator. Okay, so what is the importance of this research string? If you go simply and write any string, for example, revenue maximization, cloud provided revenue maximization in the cloud computing, then this will give um, thousands of pages. This will give millions of results, and in these millions of results you will not be able to trace out any good paper. But once you create a research string and you clearly define the research string, and you uh, implemented the methodology as we discussed now, that we include the population, we include the outcome, and we include the methodology techniques, then it is sure that it will give you a top populated paper, which will help you to this paper will be closely related to your research paper, closely related to your literature review. And after that, once you search the paper, we do the quality assessment. So what is the quality assessment? It is also important. If Google Scholar or any other online library populated all the result, and it give millions or hundreds of research paper, then you are not able to include all these papers. So what you do to assess the quality? To assess the quality, how we check the paper initially. The first one is, for the first time we check the initially we check the title. What is the title of the paper? Because first time the title is displayed when you search anything on the uh, on internet. You usually see the title, and secondly you see the abstract. When the title matches, you check the abstract, either abstract is matching to the your literature or not. If it is matching, then you check its methodology and what type of methodology it is using. So if it is using, after that you select this paper initially, and finally you create an inclusion criteria. You can select 200 or 300 papers with only checking its title and abstract. But once you check the paper with detail, then you check it with several questionnaires. For example, in my case, I am checking that is it covering the methodologies which I'm using in my paper. Exactly, you will also search such like paper which will cover your methodology. Okay, and exactly discussing the cloud fog and internet of things, because the cloud fog and internet of things are synonyms. So I have selected the paper which is in the cloud, which is in the internet of thing, but they are working on the provided revenue maximization. Then I have selected such like paper, and have they presented the methodology and results in the proper way? Usually there are too many papers which are not systematically organized, and their results are also not organized accordingly, and it looks like fake results. So I have to check that either the results is properly organized, it is properly simulated, or it is properly prototyped and fulfilling the above requirements along with 2 citation per year. I have implemented one check that it have to be cited 2 times last year, and the final is the research article published since 2002 2012, because my window slot is from 2012 to 2020. So I have also included this inclusion criteria. So in the exclusion criteria, what I have included in the exclusion criteria, that the research paper discussing the cloud computing and revenue maximization separately if there is a paper, it is discussing the cloud computing, and the second one is discussing the revenue maximization, then these are two different topics, these are two different populations. So I have not selected such like paper. Research paper not properly presenting the results and methodology used for desired outcomes. So if the paper uh, have not presented the result and methodology in a proper way, in a systematic way, then I haven't selected such like paper. The research paper failed to get 2 citation in the first year, in the last year, sorry. Once you have once you have planned the paper, okay, you have planned the paper, and secondly that you have conducted the literature review, then the next main thing is that reporting the review. How to report the review is most important and most critical. Reporting the review means that you are going to write, okay, you are going to write. Writing means that you are going to write the literature chapter, you are going to write any survey paper, or you are going to include this literature in any other research paper, or you are going to present this in entire literature review. So how to write and how to represent the literature review is most important and is also most critical. I always find it difficult to organize the literature review and to write the literature review, because once you write the literature review, you have to write the uh, either you agree with the order with the author, or you disagree with the author, and the second thing that you have to keep flow between different authors, between different ideas. If you have read 200 papers, you have read 200 different ideas, then synthesizing, analyzing, organizing these 200 ideas in a few pages and in a one flow, it needs expertise, it needs skills. But these expertise, these skills can easily be achieved if someone works on it. So how I report the literature? Once we report the literature, we use just like a funnel. Funnel means that first you discuss the topic, or the main topic, and after that you minimize it according to the tab to the subtopic, and at the end you just discuss the ideas which are closely related to your topic. Okay, here from you start from the main topic and you conclude on your own idea. This create just like a funnel. You create from broader topic, then go toward the subtopic, and after that the topic which are closely related to your paper. Categorization of literature. In my case, I have categorized the literature in different categories. For example, you can see here that I categorize into performance, SLA management, scalability, etc., etc. I have categorized the literature in different categories according to the theme of the paper. But what you can do while writing the literature, you can organize the literature in 3 4 different ways. The first one is uh, chronological. Chronological means that you are going to organize the paper according to the date. For example, you start from uh, 2012 and write towards 2021, or you can do the opposite. You can start from 2001 to 2012, but you have to start from 2012 to 2020 according to the date, according to your collection of data. And the second is which I have done, that I have categorized all my literature according to the theme. My topic is how to increase, how to maximize the provider revenue. So provider revenue can be increased in different theme. If we adjust the performance, it can increase the provider revenue. If we uh, 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 adjust, optimize the prices, it may also increase the it may also maximize the revenue maximization. Customer satisfaction also maximize the provider revenue, definitely increases the resource utilization, can also increase the provider revenue. So they are a different theme. So I have organized my data according to the theme of my paper. And the third one is either your research is qualitative or qualitative. What type of methodology is used for your research paper? So you can use any way according to your literature. The most important which is used in the literature is the chronological way, and the second theme is the thematic, which theme is used. So I have organized my literature according to the seven different theme. For example, you can see I have created one table, and I will suggest, if you are going to write your survey paper, or if you are going to write the literature chapter, you have to create this table. This table will clearly explain that what type of papers you have selected and what is the window size from where you have picked the papers. You can see that in my category, I have organized the paper as the first category is performance management. Those papers who work on provider revenue maximization by managing the performance management. Similarly, you can see the SLA management, resources scalability, customer satisfaction. And here I have given different type of categories. Categorized after categorizing all these different themes, then I have given here that what how many papers have been selected from the literature. For example, from the performance management, total 11 papers have been selected, and these 11 papers, 0 paper were selected from 2012, and 1112, and similarly total 11 papers were selected. So this is a good sketch which will give a clear-cut view to the reader that what type of papers are selected in this literature. So my first category is performance management, and in the performance management, you first you write the overview. You can see that I have wrote the overview. Without good performance, services are useless in the cloud computing market competition. No one can deny its importance. Incident: low performance services will give no benefits. Such type of issues detract customers rather than to attract. So I have discussed the importance of performance management in the revenue maximization. You have to write such like overview about any theme, about any topic, about any subtopic which you are going to discuss. And once I have started the started discussing the literature, then I have write that performance depends on different parameters. You can see that in the first paragraph I discuss with detail that what is performance impact on the cloud computing. Therefore, I started here with the performance to link this paragraph with the previous paragraph. Performance depend on different parameters, and Sconto and investigated the primary performance parameters in the cloud computing. So, to link all the paragraph with the first, because this is the header line, I connected this line with the first one and did explain it with detail. And once I have discussed that we are going to discuss the performance, the second author directly advances the work. So advances the performance study is also a keyword which is used to explain your uh, explain your study. Actually, in the literature review, there are different type of words, there are different type of explanation which are used. You can say these are the linking words to link the different paragraphs with each other, to link the ideas with each other, and these are very necessary, very essential to link the literature. So once I have closed the performance, the second one is the virtual machine degrade the performance. Here I'm specifically discussing the virtual machine performance. Once I have discussed the virtual machine, definitely the author will discuss the virtual machine performance. And the same issue was further investigated by Fang and Flana. You can write anything, you can write different words. Once you write any review, you can do two things. First thing, that either you agree with the author, okay. Second, you disagree with the author. So these are the two main points, and you have to know how to agree and how to disagree. For example, if you agree or the two author agrees, then you can say that similarly author B points too. Likewise author C make the case that author D also make this point. This means that these author agrees. And once the author disagree, you can write that however author B points to, or we can say that uh, this will increase the performance. However, it will increase the revenue. So that's why this shows that you are disagreeing with this point. You can say that on the other hand, author C makes the case that. Conversely, author D argues. Nevertheless, what author E suggests. So you have to write that how to agree and how to disagree with the others. Yes, this is the literature evaluation criteria, and because I'm using 7 different templates, so I have 7 different tables, and in these tables I use the sample. The sample is used for the criteria, and the second one is the criteria, which I have selected the 7 criteria: performance management, SLA and penalties management, and resources scalability, etc. So I have defined the criteria. If I'm discussing the performance management, that what the performance management means in this literature. If I am discussing the SLA and penalties management, that what is the main function of SLA and penalties management. So if you are going to use any criteria, you are going to categorize your literature, you are going to use any sample, then you have to clearly define these samples, these statistics, okay. Here you can see that these are also the linking word, that federation enhances the scalability and results in increased performance, okay. And many studies contributed to improve this domain, and okay, you can see that this is also further enhancing the. So this is the main point. I am summarizing, I am analyzing the synthesis of performance management, the first category of the literature review. These investigations and research optimize the revenue and performance. I agree. You always agree, or you always write the positive points of anything, of any literature. So uh, I wrote that these investigations and research optimize the revenue and performance. However, no, secondly, I have to write that what are the main challenges, what are the main problems, and what are the main gaps. And after that, I will suggest that what I have to do. However, there is a complex correlation between performance and revenue, which is missing in the missing literature. This is the literature gap which I have pointed here. However, there is a complex correlation which is not explained, which is not investigated. For example, performance increases the customer attention, but on the other hand, this also increase the prices. Increase in prices detract the customers. Furthermore, with good performance, heavy workload are expected. This workload affect performance and SLAs. And at the end, I suggest that all these queries need through examination and investigation. So you have to clearly uh, analyze, synthesize that what are the positive points, what were the positive points in the literature, and what are the negative points, where are the challenges, where are the gaps. Then you have to point out all these gaps, and after that you have to write that you have to go toward your idea that it needs further explanation and what you are going to do. There is one important point which you have to know, which is I think very important, which is reporting verbs in the literature. Reporting words, reporting verbs is very important, because with these reporting verbs you are going to report the literature. There are different words. Some of these words I discussed with you uh, in the primary portions, that how we link the paragraphs with each other, how we link the header line, the header of paragraph with the remaining paragraph, and how we connect the paragraph with each other. There are a lot of words, but I am discussing with some of you here that these are, for example, uh, investigate, you can say argue, assert, assume, challenge, claim, contend, contradict, describe, dispute, emphasize, establish, examine, find, maintain, note, object, observe, pursuit, propose, prove, purport, recommended, refute, reject, remark, suggest, support. There are a lot of words, there are a lot of reporting words which you have to use, which you have to remember, which you have to read from the literature, because the literature depends on the reporting, that how you are going to report and how you are going to write and how you are going to represent. Usually we represent the literature in a table, and this is the one. This is the one table, and the first column discuss the papers and the authors, the second discuss the major contribution, and the second discuss the limitations. I will suggest you one thing. When you start your literature, you have to create one Excel file, and in this Excel file you have to create a number of columns. For example, here I have created 2 or 3. You have to create, for example, the papers, the methodology used, the major contribution, the limitations, year of research conducted, and the simulation which is used, the methodology which is used, outcomes, results, etc. If you put all the data, what papers you review, and you put all this data in this file, then you can use this file later on in your other review papers, in your other literature, or your other research paper. This will help you a lot. And when you write the literature, this is also very important to write them, what are the major contributions or what are the main limitations. And once you write that what are the major contribution of this paper, and when definitely the major contributions are derived from the papers which you are going to discuss. What are the limitations? You have to give some proof, give some citations. Then how you can say that this is the limitation of this paper? Our provision of virtual machine violates SLA and decreases service performance. Performance management affect incoming customers. So how you can say this? You have to give some reference. You have to prove this. Uh, whatever you have to do, you give some reference here to prove that you are going something better, you are writing something better. One thing is also important about the citation. Two type of citation you can use in the literature. The first one is the author, and usually in this my literature, because I'm using because I'm this is my PhD dissertation, so I have other dominant citation. You can see that Max et al explored that, uh, Afzal wrote that, Jalal developed that. So I usually use the author dominant. But you can use the author dominant and the information dominant. Information dominant means that you write about the information, you write about the methodology, you write about the what has been developed. So you can use the author or information dominant, and depends on the time, it depends on your reporting style. And you can use active voice and passive voice both according to the needs, but usually active voice is preferred. Okay, similarly this is the second category, and second category I have write in the same detail. Also tip what you are going to include in your paper. It may be a table, it may be a figure. You have to cite it in your paper, it is necessary. Mm, Efficient resources management can save providers from SLA violation and penalty. This means that I am discussing uh, to save providers from SLA violation and penalties. Okay, and further studies the resources allocations. This is a new topic, and this is the information dominant, because I explained the information first, and after that I cited the author. Investigations were limited to get all the cloud resources from any single point. I started the paragraph with a gap statement. And for SL, it is important to define the measurable parameters. This is also a gap statement. And after the gap statement, how this gap was filled is further discussed. So this was a way how it is covered. So this is the second category, synthesis analysis. SLN penalties are deeply investigated. Different mechanisms are reviewed, and minimize the SLA violation. Penalties are also well investigated to keep this burden minimum. So these are the positive points in the literature. However, what are the drawbacks? What are the limitations? The main drawback which needs improvement, that most of the provider cancel the SLA as their workload increases. Most of the providers with limited resources also have admission control, and heavy loaded workloads are cancelled. So this is the second method. This is the main challenges, main limitations. This is the research gap which needs to be filled. Therefore, these issues need further exploration. So further is the resources scalability. As I divided my literature into different categories, different themes, so this one is the about the resources scalability. Let's see how I categorize that, how I synthesize that. First thing, positive points. As per the above discussion, authors offer different solutions to handle the resources scalability challenges. Federated Cloud partially overcome these issues by sharing resources within the union. These are the positive points of this literature. Now, what are the limitations? However, the drawback of this proposal is that providers are compelled to hire resources from particular provider with fixed rates. Another study suggests that workloads should be accepted from only the surrounding area. This study has some positive directions that with a lower distance performance of the system increase, but this shrinks the concept of the cloud computing. So these are the limitations, these are the drawbacks. That's why this needs further investigations. So this further, all these things are the same, and I hope you would be able how to plan, how to conduct, and how to report the literature. And for the literature, it is very important for you to know how to cite the paper. It may be information prominent, it may be other prominent, and you have to know the reporting verbs. It is very important because if you represent the literature in a good manner, you use a good reporting words, definitely the readers will read it, reader will cite it, and this will increase your impact factor. So at the end you summarize and conclude the literature section. This was from my side. Thank you so much, everyone.